RCWR show with Lee Sanders is intended for a mature audience only. The following is an Infinity One Productions presentation, keeping it honest, insightful, and interactive. Covering the latest in wrestling and beyond since 2011. You're listening to the RCWR show. Now, your host, live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., Lee Sanders.
What's going on, good kind people, for this Monday night of December 21st, 2020. You're checking out an all-new The RCWR show, covering the latest in wrestling, entertainment, and beyond since 2011. Welcome one, welcome all. We are live right now, multiple platforms, coming to you from YouTube. We're also streaming on the Twitch, the Periscope, the Facebook. Just have at it. Use the keywords, the RCWR show. We were having a little bit of technical issues. I can tell you this, just when I think I know what I'm doing, I had saved my thumbnail and everything beforehand. YouTube decides it's too big. It's too big. I can't work with that. It's too big. Since when did we start doing this? But I don't know. I think pretty soon one of the things that I'm probably going to end up doing is there's a really cool tier package that I might upgrade to. I would be able to bypass all of those issues, and I would be able to do everything I need to do. And when it comes time to just go live, I can just press one button. I'm live, and I don't have anything else to worry about because I've already taken the time to pretty much preload everything beforehand. So I'm thinking about doing that. We'll see what happens in the coming year. Got to get through Christmas first. That's the key thing. Got to get through Christmas first. But we got a nice episode for you guys planned for tonight. Not too long-winded because, I mean, we just did a show less than 24 hours ago. We did the WWE TLC post-show. Hopefully you guys had tuned in and checked that out as we put a nice pretty little ribbon around Old Man Lee Week. Once again, you missed all the great programming that came from last week. Now that you're getting ready to ride into Christmas week, this is the time you can catch up on all the shows that you missed, especially if you're going to be doing a little bit of traveling this holiday season. Hopefully you did your tests, your loved ones did their tests as well, and you're doing your very best to practice safety measures and all of that, because I know some of you guys just really want to be near family now more than ever. Totally understand, but you gotta play it smart, right? Better to be safe than sorry. But yeah, there's loads of content. Old Man Lee Week, as I said, concluded last week. Monday, we did all new RCWR show. We also dropped a new Impact Showdown for on-demand and downloads for you guys. Thursday, I made a special appearance on Wrestling Soup, hanging out with my good friend Anthony Missionary Thomas. That was fun. Loads of fun. We also, me and the missus, we dropped a new Wrestling with the Topics for you guys. And everything culminated in a new TLC being dropped. So loads of great content you could check out on from last week if you guys didn't get a chance to check it all out. So yeah, I mean, not really too much has gone down since we did the TLC post show, and here we are now doing what we're doing. So it's relatively quiet, and rightfully so. It's a bit understandable, although we did sadly have a passing that was announced earlier today. And it just, oh man, so close to Christmas and everything. You go, oh, and this one definitely ties into the wrestling industry as well. And it sucks. Of course, I'm talking about Kevin Greene. Kevin Greene passed away. So that was pretty damn sad to hear. And pretty rough to hear that. We'll definitely talk about his passing. I'll reflect. I do have a couple of fond memories and everything, but we'll talk a lot more about that later on in the show. So WWE RAW went off the air not too long ago. We were told that Vince McMahon was going to be stopping by and he was going to be shaking things up once again. And remember, we heard that this was going to be going down last week. Last week we heard this was going to be going down after the disappointing numbers came out for WWE RAW. The series hit a all-time low. You're going, man, how low can you go? How low can you go? How low can you go? It went so low, lowest in show history. You're going, oh, well, that's not really going to go over well, is it? We heard supposedly that the USA executives a bit frustrated what's going on with that flagship show, and rightfully so, given the fact that of the multi-year deal that they inked with WWE and everything. Yeah, totally understandable. Totally understandable if they're going, okay, we got to turn this bad boy around, because when it comes to the positives, when it comes to getting our money's worth, we're not quite getting our money's worth right now from the WWE. So what can we do to turn this ship around? I'm sure you guys had saw that funny little image that was floating around of Vince McMahon and the whole Raw logo and him coming back tonight to shake things up. Well, we did not get a Vince McMahon appearance tonight. As I have always dubbed it, the in case of an emergency, break this glass. And hopefully it will get your ratings up for this particular episode, and you can ride that bad boy out going into the next week or two. No Vince McMahon whatsoever. There wasn't even, as far as I remember, a advertisement saying that Vince McMahon was supposed to be appearing tonight. There was not even any type of advertisement for Vince McMahon popping up next week. Nothing of that nature. And I got to tell you, the fact that there was no Vince McMahon appearance, I like that. I appreciated that, because everything that I had said on last night's TLC post show, you didn't get a chance to check it out, definitely check it out. But you definitely want to home in on perhaps the last 15 to 20 minutes of that post show, as I went all balls out on, no, you know what? We need to be more concerned about quality rather than quantity. It was a nice little rant that I went on, but my whole message to Vince McMahon and WWE, people in charge, was, no, you know what? You have the talent. It's not like you have an issue with the talent, because you do have the talent. You just need to do better story arcs. You need to do better story character driven angles that can heavily make the fans feel invested in everything, and pretty much expand upon that, build around that, and then set yourself up in everything. And it's interesting that I said what I said on Sunday's post show, because after I was done with the post show, I was up for a couple of more hours, and I decided, oh, well, you know what? Let me go on ahead. Let me hop on the WWE Network and let me see what's going on with that WWE Icons first look. I actually thought I was going to be getting a trailer for one particular superstar, but we had got little mini previews for multiple superstars that's going to be covered under this series. I'll talk about that a little more later on in the show. And I also went on ahead and I watched the Drew McIntyre Broken Skull sessions that had aired the weekend of December 13th, if I'm not mistaken. And there was one key critical thing that Drew McIntyre was talking about to Steve Austin, and it had to do with quality. It had to do with quality and continuity of telling a story, and how the characters can benefit from this story. You know, what's the payoff and everything. If you go on my Twitter page at the RCWR show, I want to say also on the Facebook page as well. I don't think I came across any issues uploading it to Facebook, but if you go on Twitter and Facebook at the RCWR show, you'll see exactly the clip that I'm talking about. It's about 60 seconds to maybe 90 seconds long, but it's very, very powerful. Very powerful. And it just summed up so eloquently what I was talking about on the TLC post show. So the fact that Vince McMahon did not come out tonight, I appreciate it. Hey, look, you know, honestly, for all we know, maybe powers that be, or whoever was the right hand or left hand man for Vince McMahon, maybe it was a case where, we kind of got to joke around a little bit, right? Then it's okay to joke around a bit. For all we know, maybe Vince was saying to himself, okay, we need to do another draft. We need to shake things up. We need to have some new talents come on board here. And maybe somebody said to him, sir, not for nothing, but we just did the draft not that long ago. I mean, we haven't even hit 4 months since we did the draft. It hasn't even been 6 months since we did the little draft there. And we can't really do that right now, sir. I wouldn't be surprised if that was broken to him or a couple other days. Or honestly, hey, you know what? We got 2 more weeks of December. Why not just ride this out and let's kick off 2021? Pop in. Let's do everything then. And honestly, if that was the case, if that was the mentality, okay, that's fine. But, the other thing that kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit with regards to, again, happy that we didn't get Vince, but we still essentially did in case of emergency, break this glass, pull this lever. We did get that tonight in some shape or form. And it came to us in the form of, in 2 weeks, there is going to be a Legends edition of WWE RAW. So if you're keeping track, you're saying to yourself, okay, so in 2 weeks, so that is January 4th? Correct. Or as Miz likes to say, correct. January 4th, 2021, we are going to be getting a first edition of WWE RAW. That is going to be a Legends edition. That is the in case of emergency, break this. Every time, in some shape or form, legends, just legends. Look, I appreciate all these legends that I grew up on when I was a little kid. I appreciate being able to, for a couple of minutes, just revert back to when I was a teenager or that little kid and just remember some of the angles that played out before my very eyes. Relive the moments of, I remember where I was when this particular match went down. Oh man, such a great time. It's fun going down memory lane and all that, but eventually we're going to get to a point where we're not going to be able to rely on these legends anymore. Yeah, the legends, it might be good for that first hour, second hour, third hour, but when it's all said and done, can we be real? Real talk here. These legends that are going to be popping up on this January 4th episode, sadly for that casual wrestling fan. See, the hardcore WWE fan is always going to be there. We touched upon this last night on the TLC post show. The hardcore WWE fan, through the good, the bad, the ugly, they're always going to be there, and WWE knows that. They know that they can pretty much just have a solid month, a solid year, a solid couple of years of bullshit. And the hardcore WWE fan is gonna endure it. But it's that casual WWE fan, especially those fans that just keep checking in and out. They don't watch the product for several months, a year, couple of years. They're the ones that they're hoping that they can lock on, bring them in their families, and have them kind of come on back on a semi-regular basis. Not on a hardcore basis, but just on a semi-basis. They're the ones that they're banking on. And see, this is the biggest misconception. You do this January 4th edition of Raw with your Legends edition, and great, you got these legends here on this one night. But you tune in to the very next week, none of those legends are going to be there. Not one. So, it's kind of one of those deals where, and can you just imagine being the current talent that's on that roster? Again, for the most part, from the bottom to the top, for the most part, a very impressive roster stretched across all 3 brands. Can you just imagine how some of them are kind of feeling, maybe hearing that some of these legends are going to be back? Yeah, sure, for some of them, for a lot of them, maybe they kind of have my mentality and your mentality right now, which is, yeah, you know what? You're just going to be there for that 1 week. We're still going to be here the very next week. In the week after that, we're always going to be here grinding it out all year round. So, okay, yeah, you can have your little moment for a couple of minutes. But hey, I would imagine that there's probably some other talents that's kind of kicking themselves in the ass right now and saying, man, what the hell's going on here? I've been busting my ass. I've been doing any and everything possible to better myself. I've been doing any and everything that's been asked of me to do, and then some. I've really been doing my very best to be a team player, hoping that I can get some type of spot on the card here, even if it's maybe a dark match or something, or hell, it could be an enhancement match, whatever. Man, at least I could say that I was on TV, there for a hot minute, working with somebody, but I can't get on TV, and yet y'all bringing in this legend? What the hell? I'm sure that there are those that are very conflicted right now with what they're hearing. It's troubled territory. And I got to give a shout out to one of my Twitter buddies, Dick Van Klondike. Love this dude. I'm telling you, if you want some hilarious shit, you're on Twitter and you want some hilarious shit to check out on a regular basis, Dick Van Klondike. Love reading his shit. I mean, anytime I'm feeling a little, or I just need a quick little pick me up, I just want to have a hearty laugh, I can easily just hop on his timeline and I can see something that'll just get me going. He always posts something hilarious and it always ties into wrestling. And I'm paraphrasing here, but this literally is something that I said on the TLC post show, which was this. You can't keep freaking taking care of a wound by just going, oh, I'm just going to slap a Band-Aid on him. Remember that? For those of you that checked out the TLC post show, I said something along those lines. Dick Van Klondike literally said the same freaking thing, except it was, you can't put a Band-Aid over an amputated leg and say it's better. You got to actually fix the goddamn thing. You got to fix the freaking problem, WWE. And so, and he was commenting on the whole Legends thing. So don't think that it's just me alone on one island that's just being a little bit butthurt, or I'm not butthurt at all. I just know bullshit, and I just know when, hey, you know what, in 2029 WWE, you guys are a lot better than busting out some legends for a 3-hour show. You guys are better than this. Let's dive into that just a little bit more too. Some of you guys may be saying, well, it's been a while since I've seen some of my favorite legends, and I'm just curious, who are some of the legends that I'm going to be saying? Give me a quick second to take a swig of this. A little tequila tonight. I'll tell you what, you guys ain't going to be seeing Jake Snake Roberts because he's in AEW. You guys ain't going to be seeing the Enforcer, Arn Anderson. You ain't going to be seeing Tully Blanchard. No. You ain't going to be seeing none of those guys. No, so far, what we've got for legends, we're going to be seeing the Immortal. Well, let me tell you something, dude. We're going to be seeing the Immortal Hulkster, Hulk Hogan, Kurt Angle, Beth Phoenix, Tori Wilson, Big Show. I believe they also promoted Nature Boy, Ric Flair. So you're like, oh, okay, so somewhat the usual suspects is where we're kind of going here, huh, Lee? Yeah, pretty much. This is the other thing, though, and I want you guys to think about this, too, as we go eventually into that Legends edition of Raw. Think about this and have it in the back of your mind. I would not be surprised if WWE successfully were able to get a hold of some legends we haven't seen in quite a long time. Maybe not since the last Raw reunion where we saw legends and all that. I would not be surprised if there were legends that we see that are getting ready to appear on this that normally otherwise we wouldn't even see. And I'm going to break it down to you the reason why. Look at what's going on right now with this pandemic that we're in. For a lot of these wrestlers, especially those that have been retired, they've been able to make their rounds going on podcasts, charging a modest fee for, okay, you want to interview me? Well, this is how much it's going to cost to interview me. Larry Zbyszko was one of those people, and I don't know what the hell was going on. I don't know if somebody flagged his joint on Facebook or what. Maybe he didn't come through with whatever obligation he was supposed to go through, but his Facebook account had got taken down. This was a couple of years ago. And I remember I had reached out to Larry Zbyszko several years ago. And I said, hey, would you be up for doing an interview? And Larry was totally freaking cool about it. Larry was like, yeah, got no problem doing your show, Lee. Just that I'm having a little bit of a problem right now with my tooth. And I got to get my tooth fixed. And, be really good if maybe, you know what I'm saying? If you could maybe compensate me a little bit. Again, it would help out towards getting my tooth fixed. And it was kind of like, well, I didn't need to hear that latter part about tooth. It could have just been, hey, I charge for interviews. And to that, I would have just been going, well, what's your price? But at the time, Larry Zbyszko, a little modest fee. And remember, we did the show and everything like that. But I would imagine that there are legends like Larry Zbyszko that before the pandemic hit, they were doing okay. They were able to make their rounds. Their asking fees were being met for podcast interviews, shoot interviews, things of that nature. They were able to set up shop as far as autograph signings go, photo ops and all that. Their schedules were probably full for X amount of months to the point they could take a little break, didn't have to constantly be going out there, going to different cities and all of that other shit. So, yeah, once the pandemic hits, now it's going, well, shit. And everybody's a little bit tight on money. Just picture the whole domino effect that I'm talking about. So for a lot of these legends, man, how exactly am I going to make some money here? It took a minute, but guys like Rob Feinstein of our Video, the good people at High Spots, it took all of these guys a good minute to figure out how can we capitalize on this pandemic that is hurting us right now, because we can't do our auctions, we can't do our signings, we can't do the whole person-to-person thing. How can we capitalize on the technology that's at our hands right now during this pandemic and make it a really cool and safe experience, and also not only be able to make ourselves money, but these talents that otherwise, this is what they're doing right now, especially if they're retired, they're just making their circuits, as I mentioned before. How can we put them also in a position where they're able to make some money as well? And those guys that I just talked about, they're now doing virtual signings. I don't know if you guys are even aware of it, if you've seen how it operates or whatever, but it's now gotten to a point where you can pre-order an autograph of whatever is available, or if you have your own respected autograph or piece of memorabilia that you want autographed, you can now mail it in to some of these vendors by a particular deadline. And basically when it comes to the live virtual signing, you just hop on YouTube or hop on their site, wherever they're streaming it, wherever the source is, you just hop on and you can be in the chat. You could be interacting with that superstar while they're doing the autograph signings live right then and there. They're telling really cool stories, answering questions. It's really cool. It gets you much closer, if you will, to that favorite wrestler that you grew up on, all while not leaving the comfort of your own home. And I just can't help but wonder, and I actually wish that I had my buddy Mish on with me right now, because I think it'd be a nice back and forth, um, not a debate, but just a good back and forth topic. And I think probably in the new year, I'll see how Mish's schedule is doing, and maybe we can actually get him on the show. I think that'd be kind of cool. I think we'd have an awesome time. But, I think it's a good question, which is, okay, once we get back to normal, the whole virtual signing thing, is that going to totally go away, or is that going to really, really pick up? Because, I mean, if you stop and think about it, with everything that's going on right now with this pandemic, I would just imagine that for the foreseeable future, at least for the next 2 years, nobody's really going to be jumping out there, even if they have gotten their vaccines, their COVID vaccines. I would like to think nobody's really going to be jumping out there waiting in a long ass line with random people. Don't matter what the weather is, but just wait with a bunch of people trying to get the whole freaking autograph from insert the wrestler's name and all that. But a lot of these wrestlers, some of them are kind of hurting for money right now. So it took these guys like the RF Video and the High Spots, it took them a while to figure out how to utilize the technology, but now they're off and running and everything. But meanwhile, you got these wrestlers that, well, they weren't exactly waiting around on these guys. They got to make their money wherever they can possible, especially if they're trying to stay afloat, because they don't want to burn up all of the money that they've got tucked away, right? So to my point, I would not be surprised if under any other circumstance, besides the typical legends that WWE, the usual suspects, I wouldn't be surprised if there was maybe about a maximum of 4 names that just, oh, well, I wasn't quite expecting that. Okay, cool, that you can expect. I definitely would say look out for Melina. I think Melina is definitely going to be part of the Raw reunion. I would definitely say look out for her. Do you have Edge? Do you go on ahead and do you have Edge be part of this as well? Or do you maybe save him for the Royal Rumble? Because I'm under the impression he's going to be returning at the Royal Rumble. So do you maybe do that? Or do you knock out 2 birds with 1 stone, and upon Edge returning, if maybe he makes the announcement he's going to be entering the Royal Rumble, what do you do right there? So interesting situation right there. But I would say look for, as far as the legends go, in 2 weeks, it's going to be more on the younger side. And as far as older legends, up there with the Tullys and Arns and Jake Roberts and all that, with the exception of Ric Flair, maybe you might see Gerald Briscoe. It's very possible you might see him. Maybe you might see Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. You might see Sergeant Slaughter. I just really would not get the hopes up as far as, oh man, we're gonna see these guys and we haven't seen. Like for me, what would be an eyebrow raiser? Oh, you guys got Sid Vicious. That's badass. You guys got fucking Sid Vicious. Cool. Because we haven't seen Sid since the last Raw reunion joint, which was about, man, at this point, feels like maybe it was about 4-5 years ago, give or take. If it was shorter than that, let me know. But it feels like it's been about 4 to 5 years that we've seen Sid Vicious. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Other than that, Raw this week, I do have a poll asking you guys, what did you think about WWE Raw? Polled you guys on Twitter and on YouTube. We got the poll on YouTube, youtube.com/the RCWR show. Click on the communities tab and you can cast your vote that way. Go to YouTube first here. Early votes still coming in. I'm seeing 100% thumbs down. Not sure if all of you agree with that, but sound off. You don't have to spam out and vote on both platforms. Just pick the one that's more convenient for you and do it that way. Now, let's see what's going on via Twitter here. Twitter, we polled RCWR show followers and listeners, And I'm seeing on Twitter, 87% of you gave it a thumbs down. Again, 87% of you gave Raw this week a thumbs down, while 13% of you gave the show a thumbs up. Now, we also gave this same poll to followers on WWE social media page, their official social media page on Twitter. Check this out. 48% gave Raw a thumbs up, while 52% gave the show a thumbs down. So, kind of interesting right there. I guess it really depends. If you're with the majority that's not thumbs down, I can't help but wonder if that's maybe because you didn't get that advertised shakeup that you got promised on social media leading into Monday. You know, look, when you stop and you really think about it, you had a fantastic TLC pay-per-view, which, if I'm not mistaken, I gave the pay-per-view, I want to say an 8 out of 10, if I remember it right. I believe I gave it a 8 out of 10. It could have been a 9. I think I was close to doing a 9 out of 10, but for some reason I wasn't willing to go 9 out of 10. I think I stayed pretty firm at an 8 out of 10. But you follow up a great pay-per-view from WWE to close out 2020. You got excitement, you got a buzz, and it's okay, let's see what we got here. And you kind of got a mediocre episode with many holes in the story arc. And it's so funny because I was interacting with a post that Jordan Grace had put out there. And Jordan Grace, as you all know, down there in Impact Wrestling, but she's doing a phenomenal job tearing it up on the independents and all. But you can mainly see her work every week on Impact Wrestling. She put out a tweet where she was reacting to the segment from the pay-per-view where Randy Orton set The Fiend Bray Wyatt on fire. And I believe she quoted either Randy Orton or WWE, and she said, anybody that thinks this was a dummy set on fire is a dummy. Or something along those lines. I gotta actually find the exact tweet. If you could bear with me here, because I really didn't tweet that much tonight like I normally would while Raw is on. I was kind of busy doing any and everything else. So her exact comment here, I'm seeing it. Everyone commenting it's a dummy is a dummy. You know, so her whole thing was, dummy, yeah. Of course, they're not gonna freaking set an actual person on fire. Like, no, they're not gonna fucking do that. I mean, that's stupid. That's crazy. That's insane. That's like manslaughter and a whole bunch of other, like, no. And so, I put out a very good response to what she said, which was, I agree. You know, it's one thing if you're maybe under the age of 15 and you kind of don't know no better. You know, you don't know how the whole Hollywood stuff works. You don't do the dirt sheets and all that other stuff. You don't do the whole, how is it made? You don't invest in shit like that. Okay, all right. You know, that's one thing. And you're under 15. Okay, that's one thing. But 16 and up, it's, come on, you know better. Seriously, you know better. You really should know better. But I also added to that same response, I'm curious to see how they're going to be doing Randy Orton tonight, because looking at what happened in Impact Wrestling, and we've been talking about this on Impact Showdown, available wherever you get your podcasts. It's always available on demand in the downloads. I usually try to put it out Wednesday or Thursday night. It just depends on how fast it gets pumped out on the Impact Plus app, as I'm subscribed to that and all. But if you've been following what's been going on in Impact Wrestling, Johnny Bravo was recently shot. And it turns out the person that shot him on his wedding night to Rosemary, mind you. It turns out the person that shot him was Larry D. Larry D from Triple XL. And you're like, wait a minute. Okay, so he did this. Okay. And once you find out that it was Larry D, you're going, okay, so what's going on with the legal ramifications here? Now, the story arc was hokey dokey, corny as fuck. I will definitely admit that to you guys. Definitely. But at least they put a somewhat proper book into it. As crazy as it was, they went into an Impact Plus pay-per-view where Larry D faced Tommy Dreamer. And the stipulation, you guys know this very well if you've been checking out Impact Showdown. The stipulation was if Larry D wins, then he's off the hook for shooting Bravo. But if he loses, he is officially arrested by the local authorities. He's, got to get prosecuted and all this other stuff. So he lost that match. So my point in the response to what Jordan Grace was putting out there was, I'm curious to see how they're going to be doing Randy Orton here, considering what was going on in Impact with Johnny Bravo. Some type of legal ramifications he eventually was brought about and came about. So, what was going to kind of happen here? And I just felt it was very rushed what they did tonight with Randy Orton. For me, at least. I mean, to each its own, but I felt it was rather rushed what they did. So let me see if I got this straight. Alexa Bliss, we hadn't seen her in a couple of weeks. It really would have been badass if we would have seen her at TLC. I'd have loved it if, she bumped into The Fiend and The Fiend somehow said to her, you're off tonight. I don't need no help taking care of Randy Orton. This is something that once and for all, we're going to squash this. Something along those lines. Or hell, we didn't even have to see The Fiend at all. Because now that you really stop and think about it, you don't actually get to see and hear The Fiend talk. Bray Wyatt, yes, but The Fiend, no. So I actually would have been fine if Ramblin' Rabbit and the other little misfits said to Alexa Bliss during TLC, hey, we got word from him that he doesn't want you at ringside, for your safety and well-being. That would have been nice. But, we didn't see her for a couple of weeks. It was great seeing her tonight. I missed that little blonde misfit. I missed her tremendously. And I gotta say, the skin that they made available for her in WWE Mayhem is pretty damn good skin. I think of all the skins that's in WWE Mayhem, she's got one of the best skin models in the game. If you disagree, let me know who you think the best skin is for WWE Mayhem. But I think she's definitely top notch. Her and Cena, I think they got the best two skin models in the game. But to see Randy Orton out there tonight, it was weird because I was ready to see police and all kinds of other weird shit. I was ready to see all that go down, but it didn't happen. Instead we got Randy Orton that's just salivating in the fact that, he essentially killed Bray Wyatt. But then Alexa Bliss pops up and she's pretty much saying, oh no, he's still alive. He's still around and kicking. Yeah, he's away right now, but he'll be back sooner than you expect. And you're kind of going, okay, so he's kind of like, to follow up on what we talked about on the post show, he's kind of like that monster in the movie that has these 9 lives. He's just going to keep on coming back. You can shoot him, you can burn him, you can drown him, you can freeze him, you could decapitate him. He's just going to keep coming back. Okay, all right, cool. That's how we're going to do it. I would have preferred it, honestly, if they could have just done one simple thing to bridge the gap between when Randy Orton set The Fiend on fire to how things played out with Alexa and Randy in the ring. if they just could have did one thing, I would have preferred it if they took a page out of the Halloween franchise. If you've seen all the Halloween movies, then you know exactly where I'm going with this. Remember the one Halloween movie where frickin' Jamie Lee Curtis, she thinks that she killed Michael? You know, she like, if I remember it right, she like decapitated the shit out of him and all that. And then pretty much when you went into the next Halloween movie, it turns out, no, that wasn't her brother. It was somebody else. And Michael basically managed to somehow pull a switcheroo. I wish that they could have done something like that. Or if you really want to do this whole supernatural type of whatever, you know, oh, hey, we had EMTs, we had the fire marshal, the fire department, ambulance, you know, they obviously had came and, you know, they tried to do everything they could to, yeah, I don't mean to laugh, but they tried to do everything they could to revive the Fiend, but they pretty much had to declare him dead, you know, and they put him in the freaking ice box. And they had to pull the body out of the morgue to do some more of autopsy or whatever, and the body just magically disappeared. You know, if we could have done some type of shit like that, I totally would have been fucking fine. But the fact that we just blew the whole load in one night and we just kind of went to where we are right now, it's Now, if you're following Bray Wyatt on social media, you see the series of posts that he's put out there. He's talking about things coming full circle. He's also talking about thank you. I mean, he's being very cryptic about it, but the one thing that's out there that there's no denying, he is going to be coming back, and there is going to be another level. There is going to be maybe a new persona, or there is going to be a new manifestation of the Fiend. So, I mean, you know, you kind of stop and think about that. This Fiend gimmick, it's been running around now for what? It's been running around now for over a year. Over a year. And Bray Wyatt is already going back to the drawing board and trying to reinvent himself yet again. And I just feel personally that is a testament to that man and the dedication that he has in telling a story, being so character driven. It's a really good testament to him, and I can't wait to see what he has in store for us in 2021. So I'm looking forward to that. You know, the other thing, if the lines were a bit blurred for you and you never quite were sure who was the bad guy and who was the good guy between The Fiend and Randy Orton, it was established tonight that Randy Orton was the bad guy. So, you know, that's why I was really, really rooting hard for Bray Wyatt to get his comeuppings, because, you know, remember that whole feud, how everything has started between these two guys originally. And for me, it always kind of felt as though, it always felt to me, and it never was lost in translation for me, it always felt that Bray was the good guy here, because he was a victim of Randy Orton, so to speak. And we saw all the heinous, despicable things that Randy Orton has done over these past several months. For me, and it's kind of one of the main reasons why I wanted for Bray to get his comeuppance there, you know, kind of get his big payback, but didn't pan out that way. But kind of looks as though the way the story's being told, Bray's going to get his. So we'll see how everything pans out. Other than that, a couple other quick things we can talk about from Monday's WWE RAW here. I'm not going full blown. I'm only going to talk about some of the key things that caught my interest, and that's pretty much it. I did enjoy the opener match. Odd commercial break timing, though. You kick off Raw, you got Charlotte Flair and Asuka pretty much talking. Charlotte saying, hey, Asuka, who's one of my best friends, like, okay, that's news to us, because at one point this was one of your greatest rivals. Like, when did you two become friends? I kind of missed that playing out on WWE programming, but hey, it is what it is. But apparently Asuka called her up and said, please, can you do me a favor? And will you be my tag partner? Charlotte's going, okay, well, what is it? What's in it for me? Asuka, well, you team up with me, and if we win, then we become the new tag team champions. So Charlotte, oh, okay, well, all right, fine. All right, let's do this then. So pretty much Charlotte, by the way, the level of hate that has come about on Charlotte Flair for coming back, winning the tag titles on her first night back, and everybody just taking a massive fucking shit. Not everybody, but a decent amount of people, enough for me to notice. A decent amount of people that were just taking a massive shit on Charlotte, returning and all that. I mean, why such toxicity? That's my question. Why such toxicity? Let me take a swig of this real quick. That is such high toxicity. It's not even funny. So, like, let me see if I got this straight. The women's division is obviously kind of struggling right now. It is. Let's just look at the Raw side of things, okay? Let's just really look at the Raw side of things. Ain't no Becky Lynch. What the fuck is Becky Lynch supposed to do? Is she just supposed to pop out her baby and from here on out, she's got baby being breastfed and, in one hand, and she's got, I don't know, her, she's got a freaking baseball bat in the other. And she's just, come on, you want to fight? Come on, I'll fight you. I'll kick your ass right now. Like, I mean, come on, seriously? All right, so Becky's out of the equation right now. I don't know what's going on with Ronda. Your guess is as good as mine. What's going on with Ronda? If Ronda wants to get back into wrestling and all that, I know she's been doing a little bit of training here and there, teaching a few people and all that. I know Till Piper, daughter of Roddy Piper, she recently had gotten in some training with Ronda and everything, and was talking about how awesome of an experience it was to be training with her and everything. Look, if Ronda wants to get back into wrestling, then that's at her own disclosure, but no Ronda, no Becky Lynch on the Raw side of things. All right. Nia Jax constantly gets shitted on. Shayna Baszler got all the fundamentals go as far as in the ring. There's definitely no denying that. And the great solid MMA work. I mean, as far as somebody that quickly has been able to adapt in being a pro wrestler and all that, Shayna Baszler has been flying. Just as an in-ring competitor, she has been flying off there on all cylinders. It's just the personality that's really been kind of hurting her a little bit. The in-ring charisma and all that. We would have thought that something would have rubbed off a little bit from Nia, at least, but nothing really kind of popped. And so, it kind of is what it is. All right, you look at Dana Brooke. Dana Brooke has had opportunities after opportunities after opportunities. Some people have called for her to be on the chopping block or whatever. But you know what? This team, this union that she has now with Mandy Rose, it seems to be clicking. The thing is, this is a tag team that you can't just hotshot them. You just can't. You cannot hotshot them to becoming ultimately tag champions. You cannot do that. You got to build them up. You got to give them some marquee matchups and all that. And you know what? Their interactions with Shayna and Baszler tonight, that's exactly the course that you needed to take with those girls. To now have these girls be in a position where they're going, hey, Shayna, Nia, y'all look different. Oh, yeah, y'all ain't no longer the tag champions. And y'all out here talking about you want another match for the titles. No. Y'all got to get to the back of the line now. Yeah, because we're the ones that's recently been stringing up some W's. And if anybody deserves a shot at the tag titles, it should be us. What's up? So, yeah, we need to continue to build those girls up more, is the point that I'm making. But with the exception of those respected teams that I talked about, that's on the Raw side of things, you really do not have a women's tag division on Raw. You just don't. Now look, Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce, that's kind of cool. What's going on with them? That's kind of cool what's going on with Lacey Evans and Peyton Royce. We did see them in action later on tonight as they were going on. Let me see. They were taking on, what's up, Big Daddy Cool? They were taking on the tag champions. They were taking on the tag champions in Charlotte Flair and Asuka. And, they seem to be clicking kind of good there. They seem to be another tag team that, okay, Lacey Evans, not for nothing, definitely a better upgrade than Billie Kay as far as a tag partner goes, for sure. But the verdict, they're kind of pretty much in a similar position like Mandy and Dana. They are another team that, so you see the potential in everything. But I ask you guys, if these girls were respectfully, Nia Jax and Shayna, if they respectfully were supposed to drop the tag titles, then who else were they supposed to drop them to? You see, it's a double-edged sword. No matter how you cut it, no matter which end of that sword you're looking at, there's just no definitive winning answer. You're not going to please everybody. WWE knows this. And as the old saying goes in life, you cannot please everybody, nor should you try to please everybody. So for me, the fact that they went with Charlotte Flair, as far as I'm concerned, it was the right move that they needed to make. It was the right move that they needed to make. Now, the fact that you've got Charlotte Flair and Asuka, it's already set in stone. They said it on the show earlier tonight when they were doing color commentating, watching Mandy and Dana take on Nia and Shayna. They said, one of the questions that was asked of them, well, what type of champions are you going to be? And they both said, no, we're going to be fighting champions, to the point we saw an advertisement that coming up on Friday's SmackDown, Asuka and Charlotte, they were going to be defending the women's tag titles. Again, on this Friday's SmackDown, which you'll be able to see on Fox, they're going to be defending the titles. You hear that, you go, okay, this is great. Now, you go over to SmackDown. And SmackDown, look, if this is the way you want to play the tag titles right now, I am perfectly fine with that. Because Raw, at least you can make the argument they've got a pulse of a women's tag division. You go over to SmackDown, on the other hand, and there's barely a pulse for a women's tag division over there. So I need to definitely see that. And you know what's so sad? I don't know exactly what the plans were in store for Zelina Vega and everything, but I tell you what, man, I wish she would have fallen in line there. There's just that little part of me, because I think her and Bianca Belair, I think they would have made a very interesting tag team. I think just on paper, I think they would have complemented each other extremely well. And you want to talk about a nice, serious threat for the women's tag division, I think they definitely, you could have put them there. But you look at what's going on SmackDown. SmackDown's got a serious problem. I mean, other than Bianca Belair, what the fuck is going on with Naomi? I mean, it's gotten to a point right now. I don't know if Naomi's on SmackDown. I don't know if she's on Raw. That's, because we haven't seen her in so fucking long that it's like, what's going on with Naomi? Which brand is she on? You just forget. So hopefully when 2021 rolls around, girls like Naomi, and I'm definitely looking at Bianca Belair. It sucks that they don't have Zelina Vega. It really does. Bayley, what do you do with Bayley there? Are you gonna eventually circle back to Bayley fighting Sasha Banks there, or do you have Bayley focus on the tag division now? That's still kind of up in the air. a little bit there. You've got Tamina. Tamina's so sporadic, very rare that we see freaking Tamina. You know, they got to figure all of that out down there over on the SmackDown side of things. But the fact that we've got these girls being fighting tag champions right now, hey, I'm down with that. And here's the other thing. Here's the other thing that a lot of people overlooked while they were bitching about Charlotte Flair getting these tag titles. Well, wait a minute. Anybody else take note of the fact that Asuka is now 2 belts Asuka? 2 champion belt Asuka? She's got the women's title and she's got the tag title. She's essentially followed in the footsteps of 2 belt Becky, Dos belt Bailey, whatever the fuck name she had that was running around. So it's like, wait a minute, that's pretty fucking cool. If you've always been an Asuka fan, you really should be relishing in the fact that, wow, Asuka's got 2 belts. This girl's definitely gonna be fucking busy. Shit, that's what's up. A lot of people, you know, like I say, you can't please everybody, nor should you try to please everybody. It's because when you do that, insanity. You're just running round and round in a fucking circle, and it's quite sad. It's quite fucking sad. But SmackDown definitely, from the last I saw of a full episode of SmackDown from a couple of weeks, they really don't have a women's division. And it's not like they don't have the women. They just gotta fucking activate them and do some shit. But for whatever respected reason, at least from what I've seen, all they're focusing on right now is Carmella, Sasha Banks. That's pretty much it. At least from what I've seen. That's all they're focusing in on. Bianca Belair, if she's been doing stuff on SmackDown recently, I don't know anything about it. But I am going to be watching for the very first time SmackDown in its entirety. Because it's been a minute and I want to see what the hell's been going on, you know, and get a really good gauge and try to get an idea of maybe what we can expect from the Blue Brand in 2021. But yeah, so I was talking about some of the matches there. I didn't mean to go off on that little bit of a rant there. Sorry about that. But Dana Brooke, Mandy Rose defeating Shayna, Nia, all right. Pepe Le Pew Garza, as I've been dubbing him, oh yeah, taking on Drew Gulak, defeating Drew Gulak. This did nothing. This did nothing. You know what was really kind of disappointing for me was just seeing Drew Gulak reduced to this. You know, here's a guy that not too long ago over on the Blue Brand, Daniel Bryan was endorsing the hell out of him, and we saw him have some really damn good matches. Hell, even before Daniel Bryan tried to do the endorsement and all that, we saw Drew Gulak, damn good 205 champion, damn good champion. And now we've pretty much fed Drew Gulak to Pepe Le Pew Garza, who's doing this whole, oh, mon chéri, oh, this rose, it's for you. Maybe after I am done with my match, you could, how you say, interview me again. Oui. Yeah. You know, every time I see Pepe Le Pew Garza, you know, he reminds me of Christopher Walken, The Continental. It's a classic SNL skit where all you see is just, from a third person perspective, you just see the face of Christopher Walken when some lady, and she's got like these nice extravagant fancy satin gloves on or whatever, she's knocking on the door and you just got Christopher Walken. Oh wow, oh my god, you are here and you are so divine, so delicious, so yummy, please won't you come in? And he's just doing all kinds of weird shit. Go check it out. Christopher Walken, SNL, The Continental. When you just sit through that, you'll get exactly what the fuck I'm talking about when it comes to fucking Garza. Like, I see more of upstock. I see more stock in Drew Gulak than I see in Angel Garza right now, just with this whole character thing that's going on with him. Not feeling it, man. Miz, probably one of the most silliest segments of the night. Miz TV. Miz trying to issue an apology to AJ Styles for what happened at TLC. AJ Styles wasn't having any of it. One point, Amos grabs the microphone and mentions the fact that Morrison cashed in Miz's Money in the Bank briefcase, and as a result of that, that's why AJ Styles ultimately did not become the WWE champion. There's a whole lot of bickering, a whole lot of back and forth going on. And then you've got Miz saying, well, wait a minute. Amos is right. Yeah, John Morrison, you did turn in that Money in the Bank briefcase. If I remember the rules right, only the sole possessor, the rightful owner of the Money in the Bank briefcase, has to turn in the briefcase themselves. So I should still be the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. So he went on this whole tirade. We saw him later on in the night trying to talk to his legal team, trying to figure out a way to get that briefcase back. Look, this is what I don't understand. This is what I understand. You know how stupid that kind of sounds? Just in storyline, you know how silly that sounds? Well, wait a minute. If this person turned it in, I mean, that would almost be equivalent to, hey, I'm here for my paycheck. Oh, your wife had came by and picked up your paycheck. Oh, yeah? Yeah, your wife came by and picked up your paycheck. She told us to tell you to make sure you check the fridge later because apparently she brought you some dinner. Oh, okay, well, all right, fine. And then, like, you decide, well, wait a minute. Well, what were they doing releasing my money to my woman? No, the money is supposed to be released to me. So if something weird were to go down there, I guess I can come right back and say, you guys got to cut me another check? So I'm going to kind of essentially double, like, no, like, you can't. Like, no, you can't. Miz, when you go back and you look at the pay-per-view, Miz was standing right there where Morrison was turning over the briefcase. Yeah. And the announcement was officially made that the match became so I just don't see how the hell you kind of take a back step into having Miz still be the Money in the Bank briefcase holder. Look, if somehow it is decided that Miz is going to be the Money in the Bank briefcase holder yet again, then it's safe to say that at some point he is going to become a world heavyweight champion. I don't know if that necessarily is going to be at the hands of taking the Raw title or if he's going to be taking the SmackDown title. But if he is in storyline able to get the briefcase back, then he will become, not for nothing, but now that I've had a little bit more time to marinate on it, I did think it was a bit uncharacteristic the way Miz went out there and cashed in that Money in the Bank briefcase, because I won't say that Miz is kind of like Edge in regards to being the ultimate opportunist, but history has shown Miz is very calculating. There's always a reason to his method of action. So it was, when you play back TLC, it did come off a bit uncharacteristic that Miz just in the middle of a match, and instead, no, wait until the end. Wait until these guys have beaten the holy living shit out of each other. Pick up the scraps that way. That makes a lot more sense to do. So I will admit that. So if this is a setup to get him back with that briefcase, mark my words, as far as 2021 goes, he will be a champion. No doubt about that. If I were to make a bold prediction as far as what's the earliest I think Miz will become champion, if this storyline sticks and he gets the briefcase back, I'm going to say night after WrestleMania. I'm going to say night after WrestleMania, look for Miz to cash in briefcase. He'll do it successfully, and he'll become that week, in that respective week, he'll become the new WWE champion. Let's keep rocking and rolling here. Only a couple more things I want to talk about from Raw. Hurt Business were in action. Enjoyed that. Enjoyed the hell out of that. Hurt Business looking good, man. Go look good on them. Jeff Hardy, Matt Riddle taking on Bobby Lashley, MVP. We had heard about this match, that it was going to be going down pretty much all night long. Boys did good in this one. Cedric Alexander, by the way, showing more arrogance, more cockiness, and you just can't help but wonder. Look, me personally, when you look at the way Cedric Alexander is acting, and you see the way Lashley and Shelton Benjamin are kind of looking at him a bit, it's almost as if they're going, damn, kid, you got way too much spunk. You gotta slow down a little bit. Seriously, you're kind of overstepping your boundaries a little bit. And I think for right now, they're tolerating it because he's part of the team. And as long as the losses are not adding up, and it's critical losses at that, then it's kind of, we'll look the other way. But you can just tell the way that they've been kind of looking at him the past couple of weeks that, so there are seeds that's being planted there quite cleverly, that if the Hurt Business were to implode and somebody's gonna get fucking unceremoniously kicked out, yeah, man, Cedric Alexander would be one of those people. Now, personally, I hope it doesn't happen for quite some time, because I'm loving any and everything that is the Hurt Business. One of the best things that's going on right now in the WWE. I am firmly fucking behind that. And look, I know as far as Father Time goes, MVP, sadly, I just don't see him becoming the World Heavyweight Champion. It would be nice. It would be totally fucking nice to see him be a World Heavyweight Champion. But I just don't see that happening, sadly. Now, you know, if it were up to me, personally, I would love to do a scenario where WWE pulls a page out of Impact Wrestling, and Moose had brought back the TNA World Heavyweight title. I would love to see MVP bring back a old WWE title. How I wish we could honestly call it a WWF title. I don't know if WWE could get away with that. Get away with just bringing back a WWF title. But I would love for WWE to bring back some type of a vintage world title. That's where it gets kind of tricky, though, because it's like, okay, well, what world title do you bring back? Do you maybe bring back the WCW title for MVP? Do you maybe bring that back? Or do you maybe bring back the ECW world title? That's something that you maybe bring back. Or do you maybe just go on ahead and, you know, because look, when you follow the history of the Universal title and you follow the history of the WWE title, it's like there's really no wiggle room in there for you to kind of. So do you maybe home in on those two respective titles that I'm talking about? Or remember, WWE has now acquired Evolve. Do you maybe have MVP resurrect the Evolve world title? Do you maybe do something like that? Or could you maybe have NXT be thrown into the mix there? And could you maybe have MVP that way? I mean, there's a whole lot of interesting scenarios you could do right there, but I personally would hate to see him eventually become a 24/7 champion. I wouldn't want to see that because the title has just become too comedic for me. I just kind of feel like it's a little bit beneath MVP, but I got to tell you, man, with regards to MVP has done a phenomenal job as a manager for those guys. A phenomenal job. He was off to a rocky start when he first returned in WWE. He seemed very outdated, like I don't know what, extremely outdated, and it really showed, but he quickly has been able to adapt, and him really embracing being a manager and, you know, being a mentor at the same time. I mean, he fits that role so perfectly well. WWE struck money with MVP. They've got their own freaking black Paul Heyman as far as I'm concerned. And I tell you what, as long as creatively they can always figure out something for MVP to do, MVP can continue to have a job in WWE for the rest of his life as long as he freaking wants it. But he really is one of the MVPs, no pun intended. He really has been one of the MVPs for WWE this pandemic year for the company, if you really kind of take a step back and think about it. Other than that, nothing else to really get into. Main event match of the night. It was a holiday street fight. Sheamus, Keith Lee, Drew McIntyre taking on AJ Styles, Miz, John Morrison. Team of Sheamus, Keith Lee, Drew McIntyre picked up the W, but a little bit of controversy there at the end, and for a very good reason. Closing moments of this matchup, Sheamus looked as though he was calling for the bro kick. He pretty much wanted to wrap things up with this match, but then we saw freaking Keith Lee tag himself in, and he pretty much cleaned house. He took Morrison, threw him over the ropes. Morrison fell into the arms of Amos. Amos pretty much doing something very similar to what he did to The Miz at TLC. Now that he's finally got his hands on Morrison, he pretty much walked over to an announcer's table, or a wooden table, I believe it was. It was actually a wooden table, already propped up, sent him crashing through that. That pretty much took out Morrison. And Keith Lee did a spirit bomb. Can't remember who he did the spirit bomb to. I don't know if he did the spirit bomb to AJ or if it was Miz, but I remember Keith Lee was the one that picked up the win for the team. Drew was ecstatic, and you're just looking at this, you're going, all right, all three of these guys, they're finally on the same freaking page. What did I tell you guys? Not necessarily on the TLC post show, but I kind of alluded to it off and on during the past couple of weeks. I said, you know, you're going to have that conversation. I told you guys to look out for it. Did I not? I said, look out. There's going to be a conversation where Drew's probably going to say to Keith Lee, look, I know you're concerned about me. You're my boy. I love you. Appreciate you. You know, I respect you a great deal. But Sheamus, that's my brother. Me and him have had our share of fights and everything. I mean, he's almost like the brother I wish I had. And I got my own respected brothers already, but he's like a brother that I've never had. Please don't put me in a position where I have to choose, because I'm always going to choose my brother. And what we had saw earlier in the night leading into this match, a lot of friction there between Keith Lee, Sheamus, Keith feeling that he still can't trust Sheamus. These guys were about to brawl backstage, but McIntyre cooled things out, pulled Keith to the side and said, look, you got to trust him. You got to trust me. I've known this guy for a long time. We're like brothers. Like, he's not your enemy. The guys we're going to be facing later on tonight, those are your enemies. Just imagine if you could just put your difference to the side, work with Sheamus, work with me, we'd be an unstoppable force. So, when it was all said and done, yeah, on this night, they were an unstoppable force. They looked pretty damn good together. Thought maybe Raw was going to close out with just the three of these guys celebrating. Instead, Sheamus, out of nowhere, bro kicks the shit out of Keith Lee, lays him out. Drew is pissed. He gets in the face of Sheamus. Sheamus is smiling. Drew's going, no, seriously, what the hell? Why would you do that? Why would you do that? He's on our side. What the hell? And it pretty much just went off like that. So obviously, we've got this continuation here of Drew McIntyre in the middle. I can't help but wonder how sticky, how ugly is it going to get here between these three guys? Are we ultimately going to see a scenario play about where, as I kind of alluded to, Drew gives Keith Lee some tough love, and Keith ultimately says, okay, you know what? Don't say I didn't warn you. Fuck you. I don't want to have anything else to do with you. You do you. I'm going to go do me. We cross paths again. I hope it's not going to be for that title, because all or nothing at all. I'm going all in, and I'm going to take that title away from you. Is that what ultimately is going to happen? Is this part of Sheamus's plan to somehow ultimately get himself in a position where he can, it's so weird when you think about it, because in most cases you're going, well, why not just ask for a title shot? If Sheamus ultimately wants a title shot, then I don't know. It kind of feels to me like maybe one of the matches that's going to be happening at WrestleMania, I kind of feel as though we're going to be going on a path of Sheamus and McIntyre. That's just the vibe that I'm getting, especially after seeing the Drew McIntyre Broken Skull Sessions episode. It may sound kind of like a groaner for you guys, but don't be surprised if Sheamus and McIntyre were to headline WrestleMania in 2021. Otherwise, I don't exactly see, if you're not going to go that route, I don't exactly see what the big payoff is then. So, but yeah, Raw, so-so episode. See, a little bright spots in there, but a bit of a so-so episode. Let's see what you guys had to say on social media one more time before we get ready to move on here. All right, let's see what we got here. So once again, amongst our own listeners on Twitter, 13% giving the show a thumbs up, 87% giving it a thumbs down. Same poll we did for WWE followers on Twitter. Still the same. For the most part, 49% thumbs up, 51% thumbs down. Ouch. Ouch is all I got to say on that one. Meanwhile, let's go on YouTube. Let's see what's going on here. YouTube in the comments, in the community section there, 100% thumbs down. So early voting I'm still seeing coming in on YouTube, but pick your platform. You don't have to spam out and vote on both platforms. Just pick the one that you're most active on. Keep the interactions coming and everything. Like what Big Daddy Cool said in the chat there, I guess what kills me, WWE has so many unused people and they just use the same 10 or 11 people. Yeah. Seems to be the case, doesn't it? It really seems to be the case. And you hear the talk of, oh, well, there's going to be even more TV hours added. There's going to be even another new show. And it's kind of like, really? With all the hours that you currently have active of WWE programming, you can't fucking figure out a way to fit X amount of people into these goddamn time slots? Really? Somehow AEW is able to make it work. I mean, I hate to go there, but I'm going there. Somehow they're able to make it work. ROH is somehow able to make it work. Fucking MLW. All the talents they have, somehow they're able to make it fucking work. And they don't even have as many shows and as many hours in the week of original programming that WWE does. So it's quite fucking nerve-wracking when you stop and think about it. I was quite sad to see that, and if they showed a graphic at the very beginning, as far as I know, I didn't see it, so you would have to let me know. I know WWE acknowledged the passing of Kevin Greene on their website and on social media, but as far as, okay, can we get some type of a little package or have the commentators say a little something about Kevin Greene? We did not get any of that, and I gotta tell you, I was really taken back. I was greatly disappointed that WWE did not do anything on programming, paying homage to Kevin Greene. I guess this was a case right here where, as far as they were concerned, well, he was more of a WCW guy. We acquired WCW, but hey, that was kind of WCW when you think about it. Had nothing to do with WWE. Still, like you should at least say something about the guy, because in his own respected right, he made his marks. He left an impression in pro wrestling. It sucks, but in case you had missed the news, you know your football. Maybe you don't know your football, but Kevin Greene, the linebacker and defensive end for few teams, take your pick. Rams, Steelers, Panthers, 49ers, Panthers. He was a coach for the Green Bay Packers, or an offensive linebacker coach. Was also in the same position for the Jets. He passed away sometime, I want to say late Sunday, going into Monday. Guy was only 58 years old. Think about that for a second. Only 58. And this guy fucking died. We don't know right now what the cause of death was. That information has not been disclosed. I mean, just wow. Crazy. Fucking crazy when you fucking hear that, because you're going 58. Okay, well, was he obese or something? Was he a big sloppy? No. Rather kind of husky, muscular type of guy. I mean, literally, if you got a chance to see him in the later years, like within the last 4 years, I mean, he pretty much looked like he could still kick some ass. And I'm not exaggerating. 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team All-Pro, NFL Defensive Player of the Year, NFC Defensive Player of the Year, 2-time NFL sacks leader, NFL 1990s All-Decade Team, part of the 100 Sacks Club. Know your football players, man. I mean, this guy was definitely a fucking beast. If you did not see the football life story on him, check it out. Check it out. It was a great fucking episode. And I only say that because it's so fucking weird, because when I found out he passed, I gave my thoughts on social media, and I was talking to my girl, and I said, "Did you hear?" Because she's a big football fan, and she can talk old school names depending on the team. I mean, she's pretty good at revisionist history and all that. One of these days, I think as far as 2021 goes, and when it comes to sports and all that, I think eventually maybe I might sit down with her, and maybe we might do something on Patreon as far as a podcast talking football, because we both are big into the football. And like I said, she's pretty good. She knows her shit. I mean, especially if you get her on Redskins. I mean, she's definitely all there. I'll see. Just throwing an idea out there. But I remember when I found out he passed, I said to her, "Hey, did you hear the news about Kevin Greene?" And she goes, "Yeah." And it was about a couple of months ago that we actually had watched his football life story, because a lot of times I will just be channel surfing, and a lot of times I go to the NFL Network. If I'm not going to the ID channel, then I'm probably pulling up classic episodes. Of Forensic Files, or I'm looking at the NFL Network. And normally, if the NFL Network is on my TV, I'm probably watching a football life on somebody. And a couple of months ago, we actually had watched his football life story, and it was pretty good. It's pretty good. You can actually find it on YouTube, because as soon as I found out of his passing and all that, I was just kind of going down memory lane, and I was curious if anybody had uploaded it. Sure enough, this football life story was uploaded on there a couple of years ago. It's about 49 minutes, maybe about 55 minutes. So check it out when you guys get an opportunity. But he was a fucking badass. And he was part of the Pro Football Hall of Fame, mind you. You know, here's a guy that late into his career, he decided, you know what? I want to try my hand into pro wrestling. I want to see what I can do. And he debuted as a tag partner for fellow NFL alumni Steve McMichael. And I love me some Steve McMichael. Mongo. I love look, I know everybody, it depends who you talk to. There weren't a lot of people that were fans of Steve McMichael. They just weren't. Me personally, I can remember being a teenager watching him and all that on WCW. I liked his commentating. I thought his commentating was very fresh. I thought it was very unique. You know, here was this guy that wore these weird, flamboyant kind of outfits, and he would always have a small fucking dog with him, you know, some little small, ugly little dog. You know, usually I don't even know the breed that he had, but he would always have these little small, ugly ass dogs, and I'm like, oh, great, you brought your dog yet again. Oh, joy, oh, joy, oh, joy. But Steve McMichael, Mongo McMichael, fucking cool dude. Not everything was bad with Mongo, by the way. Not everything was bad. But he popped up as a tag team partner for Steve McMichael. But McMichael ended up turning on him in favor of joining the Four Horsemen. If you remember that incarnation with Steve McMichael, yeah, we try to ignore some stints in the Four Horsemen. That's kind of one of them. Greene, after that, he disappeared for several months. I mean, this was a case where he wasn't doing stuff with WCW on a, you know, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. He would just come in and do these little stints here and there. We wouldn't see him show up again for several months. And when he did, he was trying to get revenge on McMichael in a singles match where he did defeat McMichael. I remember Jeff Jarrett was part of that and everything. Then, like 1997, I think it was around May, he teamed up with Roddy Piper and Ric Flair to take on NWO's Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, Syxx, X-Pac, Sean Waltman. And he, as far as his finishers go, the Power Slam. I mean, this was a guy extremely, very, very green. If there was anybody that needed to be hanging out at the power plant system for a good minute, yeah, Greene definitely needed to be hanging out at the power plant. I mean, when you go back and you look at his stuff, I mean, yeah, he knew essentially the basics. I mean, raw fucking basics. You know, a lot of people, oh, Goldberg was just, but no, this guy was just very, very fucking basic. Very basic. But his power slam, I always thought his power slam was impressive for me. I thought it was impressive. When I look back on celebrities, athletes from the whole, okay, we're going to come in and we're going to do something with WCW, Kevin Greene's definitely was personally one of my all-time favorites. Definitely. And I'm not just saying that. His shit was one of my favorites. But I also had loved Dennis Rodman. Just watching one night, Monday, Nitro, and just, the fuck is Dennis Rodman doing here? And I'm a Bulls fan. At that point, I was a hardcore Bulls fan. I followed everything about the Bulls right on up until the dynasty was officially over. And I'm going, wait a minute. The fuck are you doing on Nitro, dude? Like, don't you got a game to be preparing for? What the hell is going on here? But going back looking at that, I didn't even mind Karl Malone. I did not even mind Karl Malone. Jay Leno, don't even get me started on Jay Leno. I personally did not give a to each its own, but for me, seeing what Jay Leno was doing against Hollywood Hogan, for me, I always have looked at that particular moment. You know, everybody wants to go with, oh, curtain call. Oh, the curtain call, you know, that it killed the business. You know, it ruined the business. You know, honestly, my interpretation of the curtain call when it initially went down and when me and my friends had first found out about it and everything, it was, okay, so obviously these four guys are friends in real life. Okay, well, all right, they're saying goodbye to each other. Me and my core group of friends, we didn't make a big deal out of it. Little did we know that decades later, how pivotal of a moment in history it actually was. But for us, we really didn't think too much of it. It was just, okay, these are, you know, and we had enough common sense about, okay, heel, babyface, and yeah, we got heavily invested in a lot of the story arcs that was happening back then. But when we heard about that fourth wall break in, and it was like, okay, they're friends. Okay. But for me and my friends, at least, when we watched the joint with Hollywood Hogan and Jay Leno, that for us, the paradigm has shifted here. You know, it's kind of looking a bit laughable here. You could almost make the argument maybe that's the moment when, as far as the whole innuendos and all that, that's when kayfabe and all that essentially had died. Just go back sometime. I don't know. Maybe in 2021 we'll go back and we'll pull up that particular pay-per-view, and maybe we'll do some type of a watch along or whatever. Because I do plan on doing a lot of watch alongs in the future. Well, I shouldn't say future because 2021 is like literally right around the fucking corner. But yeah, and I understand about, you know, internet wasn't around back then, but see, the one thing that you did have back then, you had a lot of fans, especially those, like, for me and my group, we always, if there was something we wanted to know, we knew who to ask. If we needed tapes on something, you know, we knew who to go to. If we wanted to know the ins and the outs, what was the latest buzz, for some of us, we actually had friends that were involved in the wrestling business and all that. When we first heard what went down, somehow, me and my friends, we knew that what we were watching on TV, we knew that, okay, there's some script here. You know, this shit's scripted. But the fact that we had to say to ourselves, is this real? Are we being worked? For us, we had enough common sense to go, hey, good TV. Especially when some of us were trying to get involved in the business back then. So we were kind of smart. So when we heard about the whole curtain call, we just were kind of like, okay, they said goodbye. There's nothing really, but for everybody else, it was a big fucking deal. We understood it, but we just thought personally it was silly because it was really nothing. But we understood it. Because if you weren't friends with somebody that could hook you up with tapes from this promotion or this promotion in America or outside America, or, you know, hey, what's going on with your buddy down there at the blah, blah, blah promotion? If you didn't have that connection to that world, then yeah, you know, when you saw the curtain call and all that, oh, hell yeah, you're probably gonna lose your fucking shits and all that other stuff. But nah, for us, we were just kind of like, but if you want to go back and you want to look at a moment that I consider to be the true definitive moment where, okay, here's a case right here where, yeah, celebrities, pro wrestling, they've always intertwined with each other. But if you really want to look at a particular moment where, yeah, you know what, this kind of hurt the business a little bit, just look at that one match there from WCW on that pay-per-view there with Jay Leno and the Hulkster. That's all I gotta say. That's all I gotta say. It just, you cringe. You just cringe when you look at that shit. But yeah, 58 years of age. You know, what's really sad about hearing that, besides the fact that Kevin Greene, so young, 58, what's also sad is the fact that, god damn, this is the week of Christmas. And my heart, I'm telling you, if there's any part of you that's a football fan, if there's any part of you that was a Steelers fan or 49ers fan, Rams fan, you remember that name. I'm sure your parents probably remember that name of Kevin Greene. Please, if you just go to social media, see if maybe you can find out what's going on with the Greene family as far as social media platforms go. If you want to offer some condolences or try to figure out if there's a way you could send like a condolence card or something, I'm sure they could use all the support, love and support that they can get right now, because to lose somebody the week of Christmas, Jesus Christ, I don't even want to imagine that. Seriously, I don't even want to imagine that. For me, December is depressing as it is. For me, December is depressing on a lot of levels. It's depressing because, number one, I get closer to being 1 year older. It's also depressing because, I haven't talked to my parents in decades. I keep tabs here and there, just making sure that they're okay and everything. But for reasons I'm not going to go into here, I keep my distance. I haven't spoken to my parents in decades. My mom's birthday is a week before mine, so I always get depressed. It really kicks in, honestly, October going into December. And I've gotten a lot better trying to embrace the holidays. And I think a large part of why I've been able to turn the ship around a little bit for me, mentally, spiritually, and all that, is because seeing all the celebrities that I grew up on from the 80s that they're not with us anymore, going into the 80s, 90s, 2000s, and they're no longer with us. It's like, god damn. And then seeing what all has went down with this pandemic and the millions of lives lost because of this damn pandemic, it's just made me definitely be more of a half glass, half emptied type of guy more, and really appreciating the time that I still have here on this earth. I hope that with this pandemic, it's also kind of made you guys look at things hindsight. So, I have found in later years, I've really been doing a better job, embracing the holiday spirit and everything. But it doesn't come easily, I have to say. It doesn't come easy. It can be very, very, is all I have to say. So however you've been dealing with this whole pandemic this year, because this pandemic, it's been very, very, as far as talk about a test, I wish for this society going into 2021, not to get too philosophical, I just wish that in 2021, if there's one thing that we could do as a society a better job at, instead of pointing the fingers at us and going me, look at me, acknowledge me, look at what I'm doing over here, me, pay attention to me. I wish we could do a lot more of listening, showing more compassion to our fellow man and woman, and being more open-minded. I really wish, and it's actually not that hard to do. I'm from a generation in the 80s where there was a lot of that was going on, even going into the 90s and the early 2000s. But with regards to maybe the last 10 years, seems like as the years progressed during the past decade, shit has gone completely out of the window. And it's very weird what's been going on today. Very, very weird. I don't mean to go too long-winded on that one, but that's just my 2 cents from a distance. I do want to wish a happy belated birthday to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Steve Austin, I tell you, when you look at him on the Broken Skull sessions, that guy, I'm telling you, he looks like he can still fucking go. Steve Austin turned 56 last week. So, God, 56. Doesn't even really look like it either. I mean, he's in phenomenal fucking shape. He's in phenomenal fucking shape. The guy looks like he could go tomorrow. I wonder if he might be part of that Raw Legends thing that's going on in 2 weeks. That would be kind of nice to see him do a little something, something. You know, can be optimistic. It could happen. Also, happy belated birthday to Trish Stratus, the beautiful, the lovely Trish Stratus. I definitely went out of my way to wish her a happy birthday as soon as I saw it on her social media. She turned 45. Her birthday was, again, on December 18th. And, you know, here's a woman right here. You see this smile on my face? I know people that's going to be checking out the audio version, they unfortunately cannot see my smile, but you see the smile that's on my face? I have this smile on my face for Trish Stratus because I have a lot of fun memories of Trish Stratus. Boy, I tell you, to be a teenager, discovering, you know, essentially discovering, actually, what I really stop and think about it, right before Trish Stratus even came into the WWE, I mean, I was given the access there to Sable and Ivory and Miss Jacqueline, and I'm really discovering puberty right there. I'm really discovering manhood right there. But Trish Stratus coming along there. Yeah, I think I was maybe 19 going on 20 when Trish Stratus made her WWE debut. And I'm going, ooh, who's this cute little firecracker? And dear God, look at all that behind she got going on. I'm like, who is that? I'm like, find out it's Trish Stratus, and she was with TNA, teaming up there with the late Tess Andrew Martin and Prince Albert Tensai. Just to see everything that's happened with her from that moment. I mean, just really stop and think about that. She starts off as eye candy, gets involved in these degrading fucking segments, bra panties matches, barking like a dog, being Vince McMahon's on-screen sex slave and a whole bunch of other shit. And then she somehow manages to turn all of that around and become one of the best in-ring performers of our generation. And then some. The legendary feuds there with Lita, particularly. Great fucking feud. Mickie James. Oh, hands down, one of the best story arcs in WWE history. Looking at how Mickie James was introduced there. Oh my God, I can remember. Hey, that's Alexis Lurie. I'm just going. So I was following Mickie James way before WWE. I was following her work when she was, her and her sister, they were working for a promotion called Women's Extreme Wrestling. I remember that far back. And I remember one of the first times I saw Alexis Lurie, you know, as the crazy Trish Stratus fan. I'm going, that's Alexis Lurie. Like, well, what the fuck's going on here? And just to see how that eventually had played out, I mean, man, just awesome. Just awesome. She's aged very gracefully. Trish Stratus has over the years. And very happy. Very, very happy. You know, her husband sure is a shy one. I still remember watching the WWE 24 special on Trish Stratus. And I always thought it was so odd that the husband did not want to have anything to do with the documentary. I mean, he didn't do anything. We never saw him. I just always thought it was weird. I guess his whole thing is, that's my wife's world. I've got nothing to do with that world. You can't help but wonder if he maybe didn't like some of the reactions he had got at that Hall of Fame when, I mean, he shouldn't take it so personal. I mean, of course, when it's all said and done, honestly, collectively, for us Trish Stratus fans, especially that grew up on her, it's one thing to be watching the WWE Network, watch the rivalries and watch all that shit, but to actually say, hey, I remember living during that period. I remember when all of that was going down, whether you were a little kid or you were a teenager or you were going into young adulthood. Totally different when you're actually living through it versus just pulling it up on Daily Motion YouTube or the network. I can't help but wonder if the husband kind of didn't like some of the reactions he got at the Hall of Fame when she revealed she was pregnant. And I can remember, boy, that was a wild crowd that night. Boo! He's like, oh, my good husband, whatever, Steve. Like, Steve. I just remember there's a wide range of reactions. But I remember at one point there was a little bit of just fun venom. Just a little fun venom that was coming towards her husband's way and all that. I don't know if he's just kind of one of those guys that, I really, it's a world I have nothing to do with. I don't really want to. That's all my wife right there. Let her do that. I'm good at this. She's good at that or what. But I always thought it was kind of weird that he didn't get involved in her documentary. It would have been nice to hear from that outside perspective. Because when you stop and think about it, you've seen most spouses on a lot of these documentaries, especially for the WWE over the years. You've seen a lot of spouses. Yeah, I didn't know anything about wrestling. And when he told me he was a wrestler and he worked for, I didn't know what the heck the promotion was. I never heard of it. I've never heard of his in-ring name. I just knew him as blah, blah, blah. And you're like, wow. And somehow you guys are able to. One thing that comes to mind was Sting. Look up the Sting documentary there, Sting Into the Light. And his wife goes on record and talks about how she didn't know anything about him and pro wrestling and all that other shit. Interesting right there. Just interesting. Getting to a couple of more headlines here while we're still on the air. So I did check out Broken Skull Sessions with Drew McIntyre. And I don't want to do a long-winded 10-minute review of the episode. What I will say, just to give you guys some of the bullet points, what I will say is I appreciate the fact that we've got Broken Skull Sessions and we've got Steve Austin at the helm of this series, because I wasn't sure what to expect out of this particular episode when I found out Drew McIntyre was on it. Right down to the point, I was interacting with my buddy Kevin Castle, shout out to him, and I said, yeah, let me know what you think of that documentary there, because I'm a little, well, not really a documentary, but interview. So let me know what you think about it, because I'm a bit on the fence. I'm not exactly, I gotta watch this, because as soon as I found out Drew McIntyre was going to be on it, I'm going, I think I might skip this. But I found myself after TLC was over, I said, well, you know what? Let me go ahead and check this out. I'm actually glad that I did, because at first I was not going to check it out. I have such deep appreciation and even more respect for Drew McIntyre. This is a man that is a wrestling historian. He knows his wrestling. This man also, still, even though he's in WWE and has been for a couple of years now, this man still has his finger on the pulse on all things that's happening in the business. That's dedication right there. That is definitely love for the business. This man always knew he was going to be a pro wrestler. You got some people when they're growing up as little kids, I want to be this, I want to be this. And eventually they grow out of that and they go on to something else. Drew, when he was a little kid, all he wanted to be was a pro wrestler. He wasn't thinking of anything else. That's all he knew. And that's what he wanted to be. So from a young, early age, now, not for nothing, I wasn't even aware of this. This man has a degree in criminology. So when you hear that, you go, wow, as far as that's what's up. Because imagine your world as you know it could be taken away from you. As far as that special hobby you have, it could be taken away from you in an instant. What are you going to have to fall back on? And in the case of Drew McIntyre, okay, criminology. Okay, that's fucking great. Cool. One cool moment that I really enjoyed, though, had to have been when they showed him as a teenager or a little kid, and he's sleeping, and he's got a Stone Cold Steve Austin little sleep set, and he's got a Steve Austin blanket, and you just got Steve Austin. I gotta tell you, that's really cool, Dad. That time long ago when you were a kid. What? When you were a little boy. What? When you were a baby. When you were a little spunk. When you weren't a man. You weren't a teenager. Young man. Young kid. Young boy. Young gender. You know, it's just, you know how Stone Cold can be sometimes. But yeah, Stone Cold just thought that was so surreal that here's this kid that idolized the hell out of Steve Austin. Got the whole sleepwear set and all that. Boom, fast forward later, and here he is, 35 years old, at the pinnacle of his career right now. He's at his peak. And he's the current WWE champion sitting across his idol. Like, it doesn't get any fucking cooler than that. But eloquent, very smart, Drew McIntyre is. I really found his personality to be infectious. And what I mean by that is I was really able to find myself easily gravitate to this man and his persona and really liking him. And I was fondly reminded a little bit of, you know what, this is the guy I remember getting into, following quite a bit, and liking his stuff when I saw him doing his stuff in ICW and tearing it up on the independents, and then eventually coming to Impact Wrestling. Now, for those of you that might be a little bit curious, as far as any in-depth talk about him and Impact Wrestling, let me take a quick swig. No, there was no talk of Impact Wrestling. No talk of Impact Wrestling whatsoever. So, if you guys thought maybe you were gonna get a nice little chunk of no, they pretty much just bypassed that altogether, which I thought was honestly kind of silly to do, because in my honest opinion, all due respect to what he was doing on the independents, and yes, he was tearing it up, and he was putting a lot of those promotions he was working for on the map, getting them noticed and everything, getting himself and his brand over as well. But man, when he came to Impact Wrestling, that is really when even more eyes, because okay, we now have access to this guy on a weekly basis through cable television. He's in our homes every single week. We just got to remember to turn the TV on this channel every week. We got him, or set our DVRs, and boom, we're going to be able to see this guy. You know, I would like to believe that on top of what he was doing on the independents, for sure, what he was doing in Impact is also what ultimately got him back into the WWE. He admitted that he was very inexperienced, still very green behind the ears. He felt that the first go round, he let WWE down, he let Vince down, he let his family down, his friends, most importantly, himself. And, you know, for Vince McMahon to give that huge endorsement, this guy is going to be a future world champion. He is the chosen one. You know, for Drew McIntyre to go out there and, wow, I just got this huge ass endorsement, and to eventually be fired. Weird, right? Because at that point he's with 3MB, they're tearing it up. always on TV, always doing the tours. Okay. I mean, you're always showing up for work. You're doing everything that's asked of you. Like, how can you do no wrong? But, you know, he didn't really touch on the subject, but there was a lot of personal things that was going on in his life that was hurting him in the WWE. I'm sure you guys kind of know some of those things. If you don't, you know, Google, Bing is your best friend. I'm not going to rehash some of that because what's past is past. He's in a much different headspace now. He's a totally different individual now. I can tell you one of those demons that he was having was the relationship that he was involved in and how things kind of went with that particular individual. But again, Bing, Google, you can easily find out what was going on there. But one interesting takeaway from this, apparently Drew McIntyre was supposed to have a match against Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. And as we all know, that eventually went to HBK Shawn Michaels. And Steve Austin doubled down. Okay, so you know for a fact you were supposed to face Undertaker at WrestleMania 26. And he said, you know, I didn't hear directly from Taker, but I did speak to Shawn. And, you know, once I really was breaking bread with Shawn, getting in his good graces and everything, yeah, Shawn revealed to me that, yeah, it was actually supposed to be you that was supposed to face Taker at WrestleMania 26. And as far as Drew was concerned, he said, you know, it sucked. He was looking forward to the match, but he understood. You know, he felt that at that particular time, no, he really didn't have any business taking on Taker. Would have loved it if it would have happened, but he totally understood that it just wasn't meant to be. Remember the rumblings there of him winning the Money in the Bank? It was supposed to happen. For whatever respected reasons, it did not happen. So I found those to be interesting takeaways. Found those to be very interesting takeaways. And right before WWE came back in 2017, hey, you know, what's going on? He was actually trying to ink out a deal to go work for New Japan Pro Wrestling. And William Regal reached out to him and said, hey, look, I've been paying attention to your work these past couple of years. Paul Levesque, Triple H, has been paying attention as well. Look, I want to set you up with a conference call here with Hunter, and I want you all to talk. I know you probably got this deal right now, and look, just hear him out, and whatever you decide from there, you know, okay, that's cool. And he talked with Hunter, and pretty much the rest was history and everything. But very riveting conversation. I gotta say, I didn't think I was gonna get into this. Honestly, I did not think I was gonna get into this, but I found myself rediscovering why I had appreciated Drew McIntyre and dug him as an individual in the first place, because the personality that you see that's on display here, just get him away from the cameras and all that, the WWE RAW, the pay-per-views and all that. Just get him, here's the man himself behind the character. And it was a friendly reminder of, yeah, this is the guy. As far as on the independents and in Impact Wrestling, this is the guy that eventually, and he admitted that as far as, and it's funny too, because there were many podcasters, including myself, that was ripping Drew a new you-know-what back in the day, not that long ago. We were talking about how robotic this guy was, how this guy kind of came off as if he was just playing the role of a wrestler. He wasn't actually a wrestler. And that was something that he touched upon many times during this interview. And he said, you know, there's Undertaker. Of all the people that was constantly giving him advice, Undertaker was his main mentor. And one of the things that Undertaker said about him. If you guys bear with me 1 second here, because I actually took notes here while I was watching it in real time. And bear with me here. Age 16, by the way, Jake Roberts was holding a training seminar, pointed at Drew and said, you know what? He might make it. And sure enough, shit, did Jake call it or did Jake fucking call it? Jake fucking called it. See. I'm trying to see if I can find that key line there. Yeah, I didn't write that down, sadly, but I remember that was a hot button topic that me and other podcasters had talked about, which was, man, Drew McIntyre, you don't really feel like he's actually a wrestler. You feel like this is a guy that's just stepping into the role of a wrestler. He's just playing a part. He's not being a wrestler. And that was something that he touched upon during this conversation with Steve Austin. It was a great, riveting conversation. It makes you come away appreciating the guy even more. And you appreciate his willingness, his determination to try to help make WWE better for all the talents, trying to make the wrestling industry as a whole better and everything. But you're kind of reminded at the same time, as great as a conversation that he had with Steve Austin might have been, you're also kind of reminded at the same time to kind of pull a page from Jon Moxley. Hey, just a kid playing in somebody else's sandbox. You're playing with somebody else's toys. No matter how much you may agree with Drew McIntyre from this conversation he had with Steve and say, yeah, this guy gets, oh, yes. It's like, well, what exactly is going to be implemented here? That's the thing. What exactly is going to be implemented? Only time will freaking tell. But check it out when you guys get a chance. Won't be disappointed. I did check out the WWE Icons little trailer, first look. So some of the stars that's going to be covered during this series. And this series will be premiering on January 31st. They're going to be covering Beth Phoenix, Lex Luger, RVD, British Bulldog, Yokozuna. I just couldn't help but look at that and say, wow, well, we're really off to a damn good start with this series. The series premieres January 31st. They're going to kick things off with Yokozuna. And just some of the people that they are interviewing for these superstars, these icons. You got Bret Hart in there. You got Jim Cornette. You got Undertaker. You got Roman Reigns. You got Jey Uso. You got Jerry Lawler, Steve Austin, Rikishi. That's just some of the names that's in there. You know what was really surprising to me, though, and it may be a telling tale of things to come. We know how Davey Boy Smith Jr., how hard he has been going back and forth with MLW. And, it's kind of safe to say that him and MLW, that's pretty much, it's going to be over and done with, and he's not going to be working for them again. I'm hoping that the man does something with WWE. I just find it so weird that all these years and somehow Davey Boy Smith Jr. hasn't done anything with WWE. And when you look at him now, you're just reminded so much because he looks very eerily similar to his dad, the British Bulldog. And for the British Bulldog story one, under Icons, that one kind of seemed like though it was a telling story as far as the future, what maybe is to come for Davey Boy Smith Jr. Because for the British Bulldog episode, you saw Georgia Smith, you saw Davey Boy Smith, you saw Diana Hart Smith, and you're just going, whoa, interesting. Like previous years, nah. But now we're doing so. I don't know, if I were to kind of make a bold prediction for 2021, I would say Davey Boy Smith Jr. in WWE, look for it. And as far as where he's going to be starting, wouldn't be surprised if it was NXT. But check out that series. That's going to be a pretty good one. Again, Beth Phoenix, Lex Luger, RVD, British Bulldog, Yokozuna. Series kicks off with the premiere of Yokozuna. Should be a good series. I'm looking forward to that one and looking forward to reviewing it as well. Should be a good one. Let's see. See, how we doing on Showtime here? Let me see how long we've been on the air so far. Not too bad. We've been on about 2 hours, 10 minutes. All right, we got a couple more topics we can get into, and then I'm pretty much going to wrap the show up. Edge, did you hear about Edge? Edge had shut down his Twitter, or not his Twitter account, but Edge has shut down a Twitter user for criticizing a photo of his wife, Beth Phoenix. I don't know if you heard about it, but earlier this week, he responded to a rude Twitter user commenting on a photo shared by Edge's wife, WWE Hall of Famer Beth Phoenix. And the Twitter user said Edge looked like he was taking a picture with a random soccer mom, head of the PA, or Karen. Odd couple, is what he said. Edge responded right back to those comments, and he said, and I quote, "What you see is Adam standing with his wife and mother of their children, whom he loves unconditionally. Assuming from your page that you won't find out what that's like, and your biggest concern is making sure you have enough lubricant to get by until you next crawl out of your hole." Good shit. Good shit, Edge. Good shit. Phoenix wrote in the caption for her initial tweet, "Rain or shine," at Edge, rated R. You can view the exchange on social media if you want there, but savage. Just savage. First of all, I don't get why guys like Edge and others, I don't get why even respond to these guys, because all they want is that response. They want to be acknowledged. Yeah, you might be able to shut down that one account, but sadly, it's very easy for these jabronis to go on ahead and open up another account and another account and another account and another account. So, the only way it can truly be nipped in the bud, you got to know some people in the higher ups that can essentially just ban a motherfucker's IP address from even utilizing the platform altogether. But, why even acknowledge some of these people when it's all said and done? Seriously. To each its own. But for me personally, look, I've been on the air doing podcasting since 2011. I have had my fair share of trolls over the years when it comes to the shows. Whether I'm doing the show live, and as I've said to a buddy of mine recently in a phone conversation, I love being live. I love the spontaneity of anything can happen when it's live, because essentially, I don't really have any notes. I've got like bullet points in my head of some of the things that I want to talk about and everything, but it's as loose as it can possibly get. That way I can just react to things in real time and it's raw emotion, because you got some shows out there, not knocking them, but they want to rehearse and they want to write, it'd be cool if right here I said this, and, to each its own. But for me, it's like everybody's got their own style. For me, I like being as uncut and unfiltered as humanly possible. But whether it would be a case where phone lines or in the chat, over the years, I've always had my run-ins with trolls and all that. And I can remember when I was much, much younger doing the whole podcasting, much like Edge, shit would get under my skin. But then I found as the older I got, my tolerance for stupidity and bullshit was just very sharp. It was just very, look, I love busting people's balls. I don't mind getting my balls bust. I don't mind having a good joke or two. But when it gets to that point where, you guys know, it's like, for me, the older I've gotten, my tolerance for the bullshit, it's just, I'm not having that. And I've just gotten to that point where I just quietly, I do XYZ, I keep my shit moving along, and that's pretty much the end of it. I'm like this, I'm not gonna latch on to individuals or feed into individuals that can honestly just get their jollies off being negative all damn day. I would rather focus on somebody that's doing something positive with themselves, trying to do something positive within their community. I'd rather latch on to people because that's what lifts my spirits up. That's what gets me going and all that. But it's a game that some of these celebrities, Edge included, they just continue to take that bait, and it's like you really don't. Just hit the mute button, block them. That's the end of the story. That's what I always say. But you know what? He handled himself well. Who wouldn't handle themselves like that in that same position if the mother of their kids, their wife, was being insulted like that? Like, seriously, grow the fuck up. But you know what? When you're doing a product that's aimed towards kids, what do you expect? What do you expect? It sadly kind of comes with the territory. Staying with Edge, one cool ass kick ass story that came out of this weekend. Edge had took to Twitter and he actually explained to one fan why he doesn't use Cameo to send out messages to his supporters. And as you all know, you may have seen it earlier today or Monday. Drew McIntyre, he's now on Cameo, and you're going, oh, hey, cool. Yeah, get ready to pony up some serious cash. Drew McIntyre wants $400 for his Cameo. $400. Yeah, I don't know about that. Hey, make that money though. Make that money though. If you're able to get it, make that money. Get that money. But yeah, I saw the response that Edge gave over the weekend. And he said the fact that young kids who weren't even born when I retired want a birthday shout out from me at this stage in my career makes me happier than the message makes them. I don't need to charge people to take 2 minutes out of my day. It's part of the gig, a great part. Talk about a total fucking class act. I've always liked Edge. I've always been an Edge head, right down to the point. I didn't advertise this shirt like that Sunday. I am actually wearing the same shirt again. So nice, I decided to wear it twice. But this is a sorry for the burp there. It's the alcohol. But this is a Edge and Christian shirt from Pro Wrestling Tees. And it's one of my favorites. I love it. I love it. They're kind of spoofing Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventures there. And you can't see it, but in the phone booth there is Eddie Guerrero, Roddy Piper, Bobby the Brain Heenan, and Vader. So pretty fucking badass. But, I wish more people could do that. But you know what? Hey, to each its own. For some people, they got to make a little bit of money. They got bills to pay and everything. Because Lord knows during these weird pandemic times that we're in right now, it's kind of sadly hurt a lot of us in some type of way. It's definitely hurt our bottom dollar in some type of way. So we got to do what we got to do to make ends meet. Something I'm going to be continuing to pay attention to. I'm not really sure if you guys had heard about this, but it looks like Fox News, they commented on a ruling that Tyrus can be sued for sexual harassment by a former Fox Nation co-host. This is something I've been kind of covering off and on when news has been made available about this. Shout out to my good friends over at 411 Mania who's covered some news I've been able to share with them exclusively from my show from time to time, guests, things of that nature. But they issued a statement with regards to the judge's ruling allowing Britt McHenry's lawsuit against her former Fox Nation co-host Tyrus to continue forward. Said, we are pleased that the court dismissed all of McHenry's baseless claims against Fox Corporation, Monica McKeel, and John Finley, as well as the harassment claims against Jennifer Rotchett. Once the facts of the case have been presented, we are confident Fox News and Rotchett will prevail on McHenry's remaining claims, which are equally without merit. Additionally, this post described Tyrus and McHenry as former Fox News programming co-hosts in one line and not Fox Nation as it should have been. That era was corrected. And if you guys recall, as far as the original story and all that goes, former WWE and TNA star Tyrus can be sued for sexual harassment by his former Fox Nation programming co-host Britt McHenry. A judge has ruled. Law and Crime reports that U.S. District Judge Paul Engelmeyer has allowed the lawsuit by McHenry to move forward, rejecting claims from Tyrus that the text messages he sent McHenry were not sexual advances. McHenry sued Tyrus, real name George Murdoch, as well as Fox News late last year in regard to the sexual harassment allegations she made a few months earlier. McHenry filed a complaint in July 2019 that Tyrus sent her unwanted and unsolicited, lewd, and sexually oriented text messages on several occasions. She alleges that when she complained, Fox responded by refusing to investigate some of her claims, shunning her, shutting her out of company events, and refusing to allow her on Fox News Channel shows. Tyrus was removed from UnPC, the Fox Nation streaming show, which he co-hosted with Tyrus, and given a new show, Nuff Said. Among the court documents in the lawsuit are text messages from Tyrus, including one dating back to November 5th of 2018 that read, "Dick pics coming in 5 secs." Judge Paul Engelmeyer shot down the claims that these weren't sexual advances, writing, "His communications as pled are readily construed to reflect sexual advances and propositions, albeit unusually crude and clumsy ones, towards her." McHenry's allegation against Fox Corporation has been dismissed according to the ruling, though it notes that Fox News itself has yet to file a motion to dismiss. So, yeah. Long story short, he can be sued for sexual harassment by his former co-host. So, it's the last thing you want. Last thing you want. Whether you were joking, you didn't mean any harm, you were just playing the game because you know that it fucking triggers, like, you just don't. When a woman says, please don't do that, you just stop. All it should take is just one fucking time. When you're fucking getting under their skin in the most wrong way possible, no means no. Just stop. Just stop. They not playing that game. Just fucking stop. Weird. Very weird. You know, I used to, me and Tyrus, we used to follow each other on social media. And I guess once he took the job there with Fox, I guess things just kind of really blew up for him. I never, happy to say, I never, ever talked to him about what was going on with the lawsuit. Never. Once in a while, I would just send him a message. Hey, man, hope you're doing okay. Hope everything's good with you. Because it all goes back to an interview that I had with him fresh after his release from WWE. Was it fresh after his release from... I don't think it was fresh after his release from WWE. I think when I was chatting with him, it might have been while he was doing a little something for Impact. I can't really say for certain, but I had an opportunity to interview him. And he seemed like a really cool, laid-back guy. If you really want to go down some fucking fun nostalgia, there is a shoot interview under Kayfabe Commentaries. What is it? YouTube Shoot. You can check that out. And as a matter of fact, I'm trying to see if I can find a DVD for you guys. I would have to move a whole bunch of shit around just to get to the DVD. But the point, I actually appear in one segment because there was a question that I had for him. And look, you know, back then I could be extremely, extremely long-winded and getting to a fucking point. Once in a blue moon, even today, I can get a little bit long-winded, but nowhere near as bad as my long-winded points were back then. And I remember, bless Sean Oliver's heart for even allowing that to go. But at that point, you know, he knew I was Sean Oliver. He knew I was always reviewing his stuff and everything. So that's how I got in there. But yeah, I'm actually on the DVD cover and I actually appear on it. So it's kind of funny because some of my friends that I haven't heard from in years, they were like, yeah, man, saw that you were doing okay. Saw you were doing the whole podcasting thing. Say what? Like, I didn't even get a chance to tell you I'm doing a podcast. Oh, yeah, I kind of saw it I guess you could say the hard way. I'm like, well, what's the hard way? Well, I kind of saw Brodus Clay. And it was so funny, too, because when the DVD trailer came out for Brodus Clay's Giant, oh, Lee, Brodus Clay buried you, man. I'm like, the hell? Like, what are you talking about? And like, it was like a recurrent theme. I kept getting it. I'm like, let me see what these people are talking about. And so I sadly didn't get a chance to see what they were talking about. I had to actually buy the DVD to see what the hell they were talking about. Because I don't think it was really in the trailer. If it was in the trailer, it was probably a case of, okay, this is kind of taken out of context. I need to see the full beginning, middle, end to really understand what's going on here. And once you actually check out the DVD, it's like, no, and I actually private message Tyrus. I said, hey, what's going on here? Like, I got people telling me, he's like, oh no, no, baby boy, we good, man. We cool, man. It was just joking, just having harmless fun. We're cool, man. We're cool. You know, once you see the DVD, you'll know what's up. And sure enough, once you saw the DVD, you're like, oh, okay, this is what's going on. It's like harmless. But yeah. Also, Alexa Bliss, she had revealed why she has been off WWE television for the past couple of weeks. A fan had asked her on Instagram why she hadn't been on TV in the midst of this whole Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt feud. And she said that it was because she was on a planned vacation. This was something that was planned months ago, apparently. So now you know what was going on with her. So for those that are like, yeah, what's going on? You know, damn, why was there no Alexa Bliss on Monday? Like, what the? She was on vacation. And other than that, I'm just looking if there's some other stuff we can get into real quick before we get ready to wrap it up. There's actually some little wrestling news tidbits that I'm seeing that can honestly wait until the next show. From what I'm seeing here. Bear with me a second here. I'm just closing down some windows here. Yeah, I'm seeing the rest of the news, and it literally can wait until the next show. We don't need to cram everything into one show. Real quick though, your lineup for Tuesday's AEW Dark on YouTube. Check out this card. And this one you'll be able to see this Tuesday, December 22nd, 7 p.m. Eastern. Listen to this lineup. Dark Order, Colt Cabana, 5 and 10 versus Fuego del Sol, Aaron Solo, and Ray Jazz. Peter Avalon versus Mike Varna. Bear Country versus Jurassic Express with Marco Stunt. Ray Phoenix versus Danny Lamlight. Lee Johnson with QT Marshall versus Stu Grayson with Evil Uno. Kalen King versus Alex Garcia. Sonny Kiss versus Miro with Kip Sabian. Maddie Warnkowski versus Leela Hirsch. Thunder Rosa versus Jasmine Allure. Matt Seidel versus Serpentinko. I want to say Serpico so bad. Tisha Price versus Nyla Rose. Terrence and Terrell Hughes versus Gun Club. Verdixon versus Red Velvet. And Dr. Britt Baker presents The Waiting Room with NWA Women's Champion Serena Deeb. So check it out. Should be a pretty good episode. I'm actually looking forward to that as well. I usually catch it on demand once it's all said and done. So check that out. That should be pretty good. Impact Wrestling, sadly, they're going to be doing for the next 2 Tuesdays best of episodes. Crappy timing right now considering what's going on there with the Kenny Omega invading Impact and all that. So that kind of sucks. AEW is supposed to be new this week. I think they're doing a AEW After Hours edition on TNT. Basically, it's supposed to come on after the NBA basketball game. So, yeah, that's kind of weird what's going on there. I know, right? But we are going to be getting some new AEW, so tune in for that. That's going to be good. NXT is going to be doing some stuff as well. This Wednesday, WWE, weird timing, by the way, Wednesday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern. Hey, if you guys are going to be home, that's great. Me, I'm going to be working during that time. Whatever. But WWE is going to be presenting their Slammy Awards, the presentators, and all that other stuff. 10 a.m.? I mean, that makes no sense. Why not put it on prime time? I don't... Very weird for me. Why not just do like 5 o'clock in the evening and... Or why not have it come on at 10 o'clock in the evening? Keep people right there on your WWE network, especially if you're going to be streaming NXT. If you're going to be showing a new NXT that night, why not show... Teach its own. Teach its own, but weird. A lot of the presenters, by the way, that's going to be showing and telling the award categories and all of that, bunch of acts you never even fucking heard of before. Weird. But yeah, other than that, at this point, there's going to be a new Wrestling with the Topics. I think we're going to have that be a free-for-all. Me and the missus. I'm just not sure right now if we're going to be doing a webcast version of that or if that's just going to be strictly audio that we're just going to put up for everybody, or if maybe we'll stream that live in Discord for everybody to tune in and check out. I'll have to get with her and see how she's feeling, see what she wants to do. But I know for a fact we're going to be doing something. So tune in for that. That should actually be pretty solid. Meanwhile, be kind, man. There was a whole lot of content I had dropped last week, so check it out on demand, on the downloads, especially wherever you get your podcasts. So go scoop it up. Just use the keywords, the RCWR show. For those of you that's not going to be checking out some of the new content I'll be dropping this week with Wrestling with the Topics and all that, from my family to yours, have a safe Merry Christmas or a happy holiday, unless you have other plans. And I will catch you next go round. If you're going to be waiting for the audio version of this, this will not be available until Tuesday night. Those of you that had checked out the show live, appreciate it as always. As you make your exit, please make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, share, retweet. Always helps out. All right. And for those of you that are going to be listening to this on demand and on the downloads, appreciate the love and the support as always. Not that much longer. We're almost done with 2020. Hang in there, guys. We are almost at that finish line. Wishing y'all to be safe. Most importantly, be kind to one another. Take care, y'all.